The Giants had one of the more interesting positions in this upcoming draft. Now, they had the first pick, but they now have the second pick and are in no need for a quarterback. When they had the first pick, the obvious option was to trade away the rights to picking what assumedly would be Fernando Mendoza for a haul of picks in a future draft or this draft. But at the second pick, that's less of an option. Now, this obviously depends if Dante Moore declares or not, but with Fernando Mendoza assumedly going 1 to the Raiders, there's no quarterback prospect that would require a trade-up slot for anybody down the board, meaning the Giants would probably have to stick and pick. Unfortunately though, the people available at that position aren't ones that they really need. Usually the first quarterback taken off the board is edge rusher, considering the fact that it's probably the second most important position, but the Giants are abnormally stacked at edge rusher. With Abdul Carter and Brian Burns and even Kayvon Thibodeau, adding an edge rusher wouldn't even make sense in that position, meaning Ruben Bain wouldn't really make sense unless you want to flip him inside and make him a full-time interior defensive lineman, which again, you're picking him second overall. Even though Arvell Reese is listed at linebacker, he mainly rushes the passers, so you're not getting an off-the-ball middle linebacker to replace Bobby Okereke, who stinks, by the way. And the positions that they do need don't really have the talent to warrant picking a guy at 2. Obviously, it depends on if Jermaine Illumina resigns, but I don't know if a guy like Spencer Fano is worth the second overall pick. And even though this is a very good linebacker class, there's no pure off-the-ball linebackers that are worth said second overall pick. The same is true for cornerback and guard. There's 2 lanes I can see the Giants going down. 1, I can see them drafting one of the wide receivers, Tate or Jordan Tyson, or 2, I can see them selecting Caleb Downs, the safety out of OSU. This is an interesting dilemma for the Giants because it really brings in the question of the age-old debate of positional value, how we should determine these types of things when selecting a player. Caleb Downs is a blue chip prospect and honestly might be the best player in the class regardless of position, but he plays safety. A box safety, that is. And even though he has the highest chance of being an all-pro player, in my opinion, it really puts into question whether the Giants should select him. Now, Caleb Downs would be a complete upgrade for the Giants. Their secondary needs so much help. And even though wide receiver wouldn't be a bad selection either, with the Giants having one of the worst defenses in the league, despite the fact that Downs isn't in the most valuable position, the upgrade he provides over Newman makes that worth the selection. I think positional value is at least a little overrated, because having an all-pro player is transformative regardless of what position he is. A guy that has a 70% chance of being an all-pro player but is at safety will always be better than a guy who has a 30% chance at being an all-pro player but is at a position that's slightly more valuable, unless you are vying for a quarterback. Going best player available may be your only option, because nobody's going to care if you pick the quote-unquote less valuable position, but they'll always care if you pick the worst player.